to the latest episode of Spinning Platters Presents How Did I Get Here? Today we have Liz Miele, stand up comic, author, writer. I guess an author is a writer, but she does both. We talk a little bit about her book, Why Cats Are Assholes, in stores now. Uh, we actually ended up talking a lot about cats. Uh, Her cat is named Pasta. We bring up Pasta very casually in the podcast. It's not abundantly clear that Pasta is a cat, let alone her cat. I figured I should clear it up. My cats are Ike and Zoe. Ike is mentioned by name. Zoe is not mentioned by name, but complained about frequently throughout this podcast. We also talked about being a 16-year-old stand-up comic, which is insane to me that she was got her start telling jokes long before most people can get inside a comedy club. We also talked a bit, of course, about pandemic era shows, uh, Zoom shows, socially distant shows, and whatnot, and just touring right now during this craziness. So, without further ado, here is Liz Miele. I've been forgetting the tagline the last couple of episodes, so crack open a mango white claw and enjoy our chat with Liz Miele.
Yeah, let's do it.
So welcome to How Did I Get Here? My guest today is Liz Miele, author of it's Cats Are Assholes, right? Or All Cats Are
why,
Assholes.
why cats are assholes?
Why Cats Are Assholes.
As
And
as your cat is slowly moving across the screen. That's my favorite part about what's happening right now.
yeah, in like moments you will actually see this cat's asshole, I think. Like but yeah, so podcast is, basically it's a career journey story. So uh how you ended up, writing a book about cat behavior and whatnot. I ask everybody the same first question. And it always makes people mad. So if you rip out your headphones and storm out, it's understood. At least I got to see your lovely wall of records.
Yes.
Um, so you became a stand-up comic at 16, according to your bio, which is incredibly young to for a job where you generally have to be over 21 to even get into any room where it happens. But at such a young age, what was the experience that prompted you to go, I really want to try stand-up comedy?
I've always loved writing. So it's kind of this weird mishmash because I'm dyslexic and writing is hard. Like reading was really hard for me, writing was really hard for me. I was always in special classes. I had to take after school classes. Someone always had to help me with my homework. Uh, I was always pulled from the regular classes in school until I think high school. So uh, it's weird to love something that you're not very good at. And I was also always very embarrassed by it. So I was always writing little stories and stuff, but I didn't want anybody to see them because I was dyslexic. So the other side of it is I loved being funny. I loved very typical elementary school, middle school. I loved SNL. I loved, I grew up in the 80s and 90s. So like Sandra Bullock movies, I just was like, I want to be funny and have beautiful hair. Like I just wanted that kind of life for myself. And then I discovered stand up when I was like 13 or 14. And it all just came together where I was like, oh, I can write, but nobody ever sees my writing. I can perform, but I don't have to be like doing pratfalls. And I was never like I was always very shy. I was never like this physical person. So it just all came together where everything that I loved, there was this like perfect way to do it. So I just fell in love with stand up when I was a teenager. I started writing jokes immediately, showing them to friends. One of my high school friends worked at a toy store where the manager had dropped out of our high school. So he would have been a senior when I was a freshman, but he had dropped out and he was doing comedy and he was managing this toy store. And that was just somebody that could kind of like, in my mind, I thought I had to wait until I was 25, and he, I think, was like 18 at the time, and he's like, no, you could just do it now. So I started, talking to him. Now looking back, he was an open micer. He had been doing it like a year, but in my mind, I was like, he goes to the city, he does stand up. I want to be him someday. But even just having someone be like, yeah, you could just do it now, and I was like, oh. So I started going into the city when I was 16 and performing, and I just never stopped.
Wow. So 13, I realize that I have absolutely no idea how old you are, so I can't really place what 13, what stand up was big at 13 for you. But like,
So I'm
do you remember, like, who you were watching at that time?
okay. So I'm 35. Started in 2002. So we're talking like 98, 99, 2000 is when I'm slowly like kind of discovering stand up. Big and who I liked, I think, are two different things. Because like, people on Comedy Central with half-hour specials, and they big, especially at that time. Some went on to be big. Some, we've never heard of again. But like, I was obsessed with Paula Poundstone, Dave Chappelle, Greg Giraldo, Mitch Hedberg, Ted Alexandro, um, uh, early Jim Gaffigan, Nick Swartzen, Dane Cook. Did I say Wanda Sykes? Sue Murphy. Like it was everything. Like Sinbad was on a lot. Like Paula Poundstone and Sinbad's hour specials were on a lot, and then there was a lot of half-hour specials that I watched. Then like Premium Blend and stuff like that. It was just like whatever was like on Comedy Central, if I'm being really honest, because that was the powerhouse at the time. And I would say, but like Mitch Hedberg probably had a huge influence on me because I was just very shy and I felt like I could encapsulate that. And then Wanda Sykes, I think, continued to have an impact on me because she can joke about anything from like dating to dolphins and make it hilarious, and is just uniquely herself. And God has gone through so many transition. She was Wanda Sykes Hall when I discovered her, and now she's married to a French woman with children, and she had jokes about never wanting to have children and being with a man. So it's just like, to me, all these different comedians had such a huge impact. But like, you can see from my wall, like my door's kind of covering it, but like, I love Dick Gregory. I got to see him live at Caroline's. I've loved Richard Pryor, Robin Williams, Mel Brooks, huge Mel Brooks fan. George Carlin, huge George Carlin fan. Like I started kind of in the middle and then worked my way back, so that I was, reading books about Lenny Bruce, and I probably listened and read everything about Bill Hicks. Got into a weird Andy Kaufman phase, even though I'm the opposite of Andy Kaufman. So I am just an appreciator and comedy nerd, but how my stand-up kind of pushed through is probably like a weird Mitch Hedberg, Bill Burr, Wanda Sykes conglomerate.
Yeah, it's fascinating because when I think of two people that couldn't be further apart in the spectrum, it's Wanda Sykes and Mitch Hedberg.
But they both have, my whole thing is they had such a unique perspective that Mitch would say a line, and even though it's relatable and you just never looked at it that way, and you can never go back. Once he says it, you can never go back. And if you think about it, Wanda Sykes does the same thing. She'll say something much wordier, but she'll take you on a journey where you can never look at that situation again. So she has this, she had this joke about Enron when all that stuff was happening. And it was just like, I've never been robbed of my future. She's like, before I walk through an Enron building, I'll take a detour, through the ghetto, because I've been robbed of what I've had on me, but I've never been robbed of my future. And you're like, yeah, yeah. Like, what the fuck? These people ruined people's lives in a way that doesn't even come close to being, having somebody pickpocket you. But they both just have such unique perspectives, and that's what I admired about them.
Yeah. So when developing your own craft, what were your early jokes like?
I've always been really dark, and now I see it. The more and more I hang out with my mother, I realize I am just a more polished version of my mother. She's very ranty. I'm very ranty. Um, And that took time for that to kind of come out. But I would say my early jokes were really dark. My friend Burkash always reminds me of the favorite joke he heard. I was probably like 17 or 18, but it was about how a friend of mine had a one-eyed cat, and he thought it was really special. He's like, "Oh, my cat's really special because there's a one-eyed cat because it has one eye." And I was like, it's not that special." And he goes, "What do you mean?" I was like, "You could just make one of those." Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's fucked up. But that was like that's the joke my friends remembered when I was 17, 18. It was one of my first big laughs from a cat lover. But it was like, it was that kind of stuff. I had like a very dark perspective and a very like kind of twisty way of looking at things.
That's really good. I'm sorry. I'm still processing that, and I'm
Yeah, you're
hoping.
like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if I want to promote you and your book with this logic.
Yeah, well, I'm just hoping Ike here didn't hear that.
Yes.
Yeah, he'd be upset. Although he actually is partially blind, so maybe it wouldn't matter to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and I'll make sure you can see this guy's face just
Oh,
because.
ho, ho, ho. What a cutie.
Yeah, yeah. No, this is actually. Yeah, he's actually the best cat I've ever encountered.
I love that.
Yeah, which is funny because the cat that is my own is staring at me right now, who is not the best cat.
Yeah, he's like, I speak English. I know what you're saying.
Anywho, this isn't about me and my relationship with cats. I mean, it can be. We can go off on that later, but all right. So you started like, so you were kind of started out very strong with your material, at least. Like that joke is far too good. Um, but so is every comedian I've ever encountered kind of says the same thing, that you have to be terrible for a year before you start getting good at it. Uh, was that true for you? Did like how long was your like period of figuring this out?
It depends on what filter you're looking at. Like the first time I did stand up, I got laughs, and that's clearly what propelled me to keep going. But I watched the tape. It's bad. It's really bad. So, you you look at what you want to be, and you're so far from it for so long. And even now, like, I would say I didn't start really, like, there will be like a joke or two that I'm proud of, but I didn't really start loving like my hour or my full set or everything I write until probably about like 8 years ago. And I've been doing it 19 years. So I would have jokes I like, and I was still finding myself and what have you and whatever. But like, the ability to be consistent, the ability to feel like yourself, the ability to push through when something isn't working and really find what will work instead of giving up, like that. I mean, that took over 10 years. So yes, I stood out. I think I had better structure than most people early on because I was such a comedy nerd, and I really pushed myself and I performed a lot. Like, I was much more comfortable on stage very early on than somebody else because I got so much stage time. I think both being young and standing out, but then also I was really aggressive. So like, I was in the beginning, I was doing every open mic bringer show that I could do. And then when I moved to the city, I was handing out flyers, and these were shitty clubs and probably not good stage time. But in the beginning, it's just about getting comfortable and getting experience. So I was 2 years in, 17, 18 years old, and I was getting up 10 times a week. Like I said, not great rooms, but just being on stage, just getting the words out, just hearing how different audiences reacted to it. I was more comfortable on stage than the average person that had been doing it 2 years. And then I had to wait for my writing and my abilities to catch up to that.
So uh, actors have school they can go to. Musicians have pre-created course curriculums they can follow to get there. Uh, Stand-up comedy, not so much. Like you don't have very many stand-up classes or whatnot. If you were to create a curriculum for somebody that wants to learn stand-up and be good at it, where would you go? Like, what would you make sure somebody does to get there?
So the first thing I say to anybody is you need to cut off the filter to your brain, because what happens is you have an idea. It doesn't matter what the idea is. You might have an idea. It might be that nobody really returns a text message in a timely manner. Maybe that's your thought. And you'll be like, well, that's not really funny, or that's not true, or whatever your doesn't matter. If you have a thought, write it down and you can deal with it later. But I always say, whether it's sad, exciting, confusing, thoughtful, angry, whatever it is, write it down, write it down, write it down. And then by writing it down, it kind of like opens up your brain a little bit, so that maybe something will happen to you. You'll be like, oh, that'll go really well with that observation I had on Thursday. Or, you're dealing with a breakup and then you have this epiphany that really this was your fault and that this is why the breakup happened. And that might go with your little breakup material. Like, but you just have to stop judging your ideas as good or bad or funny or not funny. You just put all your thoughts down all the time. You don't let them escape. And then you just have a notebook with thoughts, and then you can start going through it and being like, what's unique about this? What's interesting about this? What's funny about this? Whatever. But I always think, I kind of wait for the sticky ones, but I'm such a in my head kind of person that all kind of feel sticky. So I always would say, write everything down. Don't care about what you do with it right now. Just write it down. Then the next step is, for me, is fleshing it out. So taking the time that day, that week, that month, and sitting with all these little notes and being okay, like, well, how do I really feel about friendship? Or how do I really feel about text messages? Or how do I really feel about whatever it is? And you expand it and you kind of do this thought dump. And then you start to reshape it and start to formulate it into some ideas. And at some point, you're going to have to try it out. So you either try it out some friends, you try it out at an open mic, what have you. I always say record every set, because especially in the beginning, you can't be fully present. You're just kind of like, I'm on stage and people are staring. And even when it goes well, you don't remember. So then you will go back to the tape and you'll be like, oh, that line did do really well. Or, oh, I thought that line did better than it did, but it seems to be falling flat. I wonder if I even need that line. I could actually get quicker to that other part if I got rid of that line. And so it'll be next is it's all editing. And I don't think people really realize that 90% of this is editing. A good story, it might be a 7-minute story, but a 7-minute story came out of a 15-minute story and it got whittled down to a 7-minute story. Or, a one-liner is thrown into a larger thing because it seems a little weird on its own, and then somewhere I'll place it somewhere else. Sometimes I'll write something, it has nowhere to go and it's on a shelf for like 2 years. Like, so to me, it's about finding a way to always be watching your thoughts, always be organizing your thoughts, always be polishing your thoughts, and then coming back to them and formulating them. And it's just like I like watching people make pottery. Like, I've always loved like pottery. And then of course with like Instagram and stuff, I like watching people. So, they have this big chunk of clay, and then they're like, all of a sudden it's like a tall glass, and then it's like a weird small bowl. And you're like, what is this lady making? You know what I mean? It's like so many different shapes before it landed in this. And that's how I feel about jokes, where it's like, okay, this might be a story about how, my boyfriend never called me back in a timely manner. And then it turned into how I have abandonment issues. And that's not how I saw it in the beginning. It was complaining about my boyfriend. And then I learned a lot about myself. And now it's an abandonment issue joke. So I think it's about allowing stuff to breathe and paying attention to it and editing it and stuff like that. But I'm always going to tell young comics, write everything down. Don't be so judgy in the beginning, and let things kind of develop on their own.
Yeah, I really like the pottery comparison, or the pottery simile parable. I'm not sure the right word for what that is. Uh, but yeah, like you kind of have to like just let it out and then mold it until it's right. Is that am
Yeah.
I kind of get that right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm sure, and again, I don't know anything about pottery, but the same way that when somebody goes, when's a joke done? I was like, you just know. The same way that I could be like, how did you know that pot was going to be like that? And she's like, I don't know, you just know. Like, your fingers just kind of guide you. And I feel the same way about stand up at this point. A joke is done when it feels done.
What would be 3 stand-up records that you would give to somebody as like, these are the things you need to study?
Oh, wow.
And that is
Greg,
inspired by your record wall.
Yeah, yeah. It would probably, it's funny, I don't always know the name of things. I would say Greg Giraldo had such a huge influence. So it'd be Greg Giraldo's album. I think sadly he only has one. Um, uh, Mitch Altogether, I think that was his second album. Um,
Yeah.
uh, again, those are two people that are very different, but again, just they take you kind of on a journey. And then honestly, everything by Wanda Sykes up until her last special. And I love Wanda Sykes, and I feel bad saying that, but the last one was just her shitting on Trump, and anybody can shit on Trump. But everything before that, especially 2000 to probably like 2015, is just unique writing and just stands out. I mean, there's tons. I love every George Carlin album. You can see I have every Richard Pryor. There's going to always be tons of older people and legends and what have you. But I think having a variety of how people come, like the fact that like Mitch Hedberg could have a drug joke, Greg Giraldo could have a drug joke, Dave Chappelle could have a drug joke, Wanda Sykes can have a drug joke, Paula Poundstone could have a drug, and they would all be so different. I think it's about showing that you can all talk about the same topic and come to wildly different places.
Yeah. Man, Mitch Altogether is the one with I used to do drugs. I still do, but I used to too.
Yes.
Which is, in my humble opinion, the greatest drug joke ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
He has one of my favorite lines. I forget what album it's on, where he goes, he's like, "Man, I'm tired of following my dreams. I'm just gonna catch up to them later," or something like that. I'm butchering his own joke, but he's just like, "I'm just gonna let them do their thing, and I'll catch up to them later."
And yeah, God, Mitch Altogether, I think, might be one of like 4 or 5 stand-up comedy records that I actually consider to be re-listenable. Where like
Yeah.
they're like somehow the jokes still hit even when you have them memorized, which is
Yeah.
crazy to get to that point with a joke, like the structure, especially with him because the jokes are so short.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Okay. So you've been doing this stand-up thing for a pretty long time, like more than half of your life. Uh,
Yeah.
and it sounds like you were doing stand-up a lot up until the evil that is 2020 hit. Uh,
Yeah.
which brings us to, I guess, to the book. Did you already have Why Cats Are Assholes in mind before the pandemic hit? Or what
Uh,
yeah.
yeah. So I had a very unique situation with it. So basically, I was approached to write the book. I have a bunch of cat jokes on all my albums, and this editor was looking. He wanted covered my joke on YouTube. I always forget what it's called. It's something like everyone is one bad breakup away from owning a cat. And the whole premise is nobody buys a cat. Something bad has to happen to you, and then they kind of fall into your life. And it's again, it's a loving, honest interpretation of cats, and that's kind of what all my cat jokes are about. And so he approached me about writing it. I told him how I would write it. He liked it, and that's how it happened. Like I had a very cushy um, uh, uh, way into writing a book, and then I got the deal summer of 2019, started writing it a little bit, even took some time off from stand up in December of 2019 to focus on it, which, if I would have known that I was going to have a lot of time in 2020, I would not have done that. It was supposed to come out in November of 2020, but immediately things started getting pushed back because of shipping and things being printed in China. So I did most of the writing in the like January, February, March of 2020, a lot of editing through most of the spring. And then I think by September it was like finally done. But I had a very different approach to it because somebody asked me to write it, and I had free range of how I could write it. But like I didn't say I want to write a book about cats. Here's my presentation. It was very much the opposite.
So now that you've have that book under your belt, what would you what would you write a what would your book be about if nobody prompted you with an idea?
It's hard because I went to school for writing, like that's what I actually went to college for, and then I love reading. Like for somebody that it's very difficult, it takes me much longer to do it. I love memoirs. I love book of essays. I love Augustin Burroughs and David Sedaris, and a friend of mine is working on his memoir right now, and I literally was just like taking pictures of all the memoir. I was like, you gotta read The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls or Halls. I can't remember her name, but it's like it's a New York Times bestseller. It's a brilliant book, as well as her follow up book, also true, about her grandmother, which is called like Half Broke Horses. So it's like I love memoirs, and I think someday maybe I'll write one. I don't know. Um, I've had friends that written a book of short essays, but again, it's if you're famous, you could just literally write a book of essays that have no theme whatsoever. But if you're not, it has to have like a theme. So I hope going forward that I can write something memoir like. This to me is like a stocking stuffer kind of book. It is kind of funny because I'm getting people sending me pictures and whatever. Like one fan was like, "Oh, I thought this was like a picture book, and this is like words." like, ooh, this is a lot of reading. And I was like, "Yeah, it's substantial, and it's a very funny book, but it's a lot of history and knowledge, and I did a lot of research and what have you." But I want whatever I do to be funny, but I do think I'll probably go. I love writing, and I've realized from doing and I'm a storyteller on stage, but doing storytelling shows that I would love to write more, probably essays and memoir like stuff.
Hi, I'm Michelle Varay.
And I'm Kimberly Trung, and we are the host of Crush Fictionally, a podcast all about your favorite fictional characters from movies, TV shows, and more.
Each episode, we pick a theme, curate a list of characters that we love, why we love them, and some fun facts about the people who created them.
So if you've ever felt a true connection with a fictional character,
tune in to Crush Fictionally on Campfire Media,
or wherever you find your podcast.
Yeah. All right. So now I have a series of cat questions that are all personal questions that I actually need help with. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. In the last 3 weeks, my cat, not the cat that you've seen who is loving and kind, but the cat that actually lives up to the asshole thing. And I feel bad saying that 'cause she's also my closest and dearest friend. But in the last 3 weeks, she's gotten it in her head that sometime between 2 and 3:30 in the morning every night, she desperately needs me to get up and feed her. Usually there's still food in her food bowl from before we went to bed. How do you go about weaning her off of this behavior of coming in and waking you up in the middle of the night?
Yeah, I've struggled with it as well. How old is she?
She's probably about 13 or so.
Dude, same thing happened. So my cat's almost 16. Same thing happened around the same age. It's not food. It's like attention, and I think maybe not fully senile, because like my cat's not senile, but it's definitely like it's an old lady behavior. And so what I've noticed is that I kind of pay attention to her. My cat, like I have an apartment, so I kind of can see my cat at all times. What she does is she crawls, I'll make my bed. I make my bed for my cat. I make my bed, she crawls under the covers, and then I always kind of see a lump of her. But like I make sure kind of to try to get her on my schedule a little bit. And I'll kind of like, if it's nighttime and I'm up and about, I might take her with me. I might bring her to the kitchen. I might be a little more like annoying of a roommate to her for like the last 5 hours of the night, to kind of get her a little bit on my schedule. Because if she literally, because I know they need to sleep like 20 or so hours a day, but it seems to be like the hours they're awake is when we're sleeping. But then also you can't respond to them. Like it sounds you're going to have like a shitty week where you can't yell, you can't throw anything, you can't go up and feed them because they're basically training you to be awake and so you just kind of have to have like a crappy week and ignore them, which I have roommates, so that was like kind of annoying to do, and not fun for everyone involved. But any response, positive or negative, is just letting them know that this is okay behavior. But I think it's a little bit with them being older and a little bit with them being like, well, you're busy, you're doing your podcast, I'm going to take a nap, and you're over there, so I'm going to take a nap. And the next thing you know, you're going to bed, and they're like, well, I napped all day, so I kind of want to hang out.
That makes a lot of sense, actually, because in general, it's gotten worse. Like, she's been more of a nuisance in the middle of the night throughout most of the pandemic because there's a toddler that she hates, and the toddler's out and about all day, as opposed to being at like daycare when pre-pandemic. This makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Same cat. This cat has an aversion to peeing in the litter box. Her preference is either to pee in front of the litter box or in the bathtub, which isn't awful but not lovely. And also, this cat's really into revenge peeing if she's mad at you, and will just pee in front of you.
And it doesn't have a UTI. You've had all that stuff checked, right?
Yep. We've already gone through that.
You haven't. Oh
no, go on. You were about to answer the question that I hadn't asked yet.
Yeah, I was like, you haven't changed litter. Like nothing's changed, right?
No,
you haven't changed litter.
This has all been true with her since I adopted her a decade ago.
So I wonder so most people put litter in it. I wonder if you just had like a separate litter box for her and it just had like shredded paper, or, if she's already peeing, like I wonder if there's anything that's like, maybe she doesn't like the litter. Maybe she doesn't like, maybe she's like icky toes. Like, I don't know, but like maybe finding something that's uniquely hers and is separate from, because how many cats do you have?
Two.
So maybe like between having a kid and having another cat, it's just kind of rebelling, and maybe putting like a different type of litter by the tub and seeing if that's helpful. I mean, that one's kind of hard, but to me, if it's peeing in the tub, it might, like, my first guess is that it doesn't like the litter, or it doesn't want to be sharing, or it's so prissy that like if there's any other clumps in there, it's like, no thank you, and it might need its own litter box. So like I have a litter box in my room and I have a litter box in the hallway, because she was just like, I don't know, she was just acting out peeing. And now that I have two litter boxes, and this isn't a big apartment, but now that I have two, there's been 0 accidents for years, because one of them is always clean. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but keeping them separate seems to be the key.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also that's not a bad idea, actually, replacing the litter in one of the boxes with like paper. I'm gonna explore that. That's the real reason I wanted to do this interview, was just to ask you those two questions.
I got you.
All right. So you spend a fair amount of time on the road. How does Pasta handle it?
It's funny. In the beginning, she was fine. She's an old lady now, and so it's actually been really difficult. It was difficult pre-pandemic, and it's starting to be difficult now that I'm starting to go back on it. In the beginning, she was great, and that was the best thing about cats is, you have clean litter and enough food, you can leave them alone for 3 days. Like my roommates would, like I would leave dry food out, my roommates would feed her twice a day. Literally didn't need to be taken care of. Now that she's older, she's so attached to me, and she's like she always is either sleeping or staring at me or on my lap. Like she has to be like almost touching me at some point. So that when I'm gone for even a day, she just kind of cries at a wall and she's inconsolable. So I've had to have, like, right now she's with my mom because I'm going to be gone almost every single weekend this month. And so my mom, being a veterinarian, being retired, I mean, former veterinarian, retired, home more, she can give her that attention. My brother's there. He can give her that attention. They have a bigger house. They have other cats. Like, so now where I used to be able to leave her alone, I can't leave her alone anymore. And that's difficult because I almost want to be like, I got you because you were low maintenance and you were very high maintenance right now. But she stayed with my mom. It was supposed to be just for 6 months. And she ended up staying with her a year and a half because I was gone 4 days out of 7 days every week. And it wasn't fair to my roommates. It wasn't fair to her. So now that she's back, she just has to have stints where she stays with my mom. So a lot of things have changed in like the last couple of years as she's gotten older. She also is on medication, which when my sister lived near me, my sister is also the daughter of a vet and she knows how to medicate her, but my roommates don't. And it's not even hard. It's a liquid that you shoot down. But again, I'm so used to just like throwing a cat's mouth open and throwing pills and stuff down it. It doesn't even bother me, but I can't, my roommates, this is like their first cat. They're like, I don't even know how you do it. And I'm like, they're really the easiest animal.
Yeah, but no, I remember the first time I had to give my cat medication, and it was pretty high anxiety the first time.
Oh yeah. I mean, my cat had cancer and I had to give her these chemo pills 3 times a week. And, luckily I didn't pay for it. That's the nice thing about having vet parents. But every time I found it on the ground, I was like, you're going to die. You're going to fucking die. Just take your fucking medication. Like, I'm just screaming at this cat. I love you so much. Stop trying not to take your chemo medication.
Ah, man. So you didn't do the thing where like you sneak it in a pill pocket or anything like that?
I did it the first week she did it. So the first week she did it, and then she started to eat around it. And then she ignored the pill like the pill popper altogether. And then I had to start because after a week, she was like, this is crunchy. I don't like this. Like, she's just a brat. And then it was just me yelling, like being on a floor, like wrestling my cat, yelling at her. It was a fun couple of years.
That all still seems to be pretty on message, and on message with the title of the book once again. Who likes taking medication in general?
Yeah. No, it doesn't taste good.
No. So you've started doing shows again. How different does it feel doing pandemic-friendly shows?
Well, I did so many Zoom shows. I did park shows. I did rooftop shows. I did backyard shows. I would say the only pandemic shows I didn't do were drive-ins. I was supposed to do them and they didn't work out. Is it ideal? No. I don't love Zoom shows, but I figured out how to make it work. And I've probably written 45 minutes because of Zoom shows. So, I'm lucky this didn't happen in 1994. Like, I would have been shit out of luck. So I'm grateful that there was even an alternative to communicate, to perform, to do this. Same with outdoor shows. Pre-pandemic, if somebody was like, hey, do you want to do this outdoor show? I'd be like, hey, no, thank you. They're the worst in the sense that like it feels like there's so many outdoor noises and people are like not paying attention. There's people walking by you and whatever. And that's exactly the case now. But when you have less options, you figure it out. And I'm still doing a mix of, and then now I'm doing limited capacity. So I did limited capacity outdoor shows in Portland. The city is opened up at 33% capacity. So I'm doing both rooftop, park, and indoor shows at 33% capacity. It doesn't feel the same, but the truth of the matter is if the option is not doing it or doing it, you make it work. And so now with the shows being 33% capacity, they feel like Monday night shows in the sense that like, Monday's store is always kind of half capacity. So it just feels like Monday every day of the week. We're getting paid weekday spots, even on the weekends, because everything is 33% capacity. But, I did 2 Monday night shows yesterday, and they were awesome. They were excited to be there. They were attentive. Nobody was looking at their phone. Like, in some ways, I feel like, oh, I have a real audience again. Like, I used to be doing shows on a Saturday night in New York City. I watched a mom and a daughter stare at their phone the whole time in the front row. And I was like, I didn't, the rest of the audience was amazing, but all I could focus on was this mother and daughter. And I just wanted to be like, go back to your hotel. Like, what a wait, like, you know what I mean? Like what, or you have the opposite where it's a couple and they're like either making out or they're talking. And I'm like, you don't want to go fuck in a hotel. What are you doing here? Like, so it's like now people want to be there. It's kind of cool. Like, I mean, everybody's focused. Everybody wants to have a good time. Everybody's happy to be out of the house. Like, it is nice to actually have a grateful audience again as well.
Yeah, man. So yeah, I'm in California, so nothing has happened here in a while, and we're just now starting to figure out how to do things here. Which on some level I'm grateful for, because I'm really glad we're not rushing anything. But also, yeah, it's weird. Like, I haven't been in an audience in 13 months now, and I'm both excited and nervous about it. Like, when
you're like, what if I don't know how to focus?
yeah, or like, yeah, what if I forget how to like politely navigate my way through a crowded room again? And, like,
Yeah. You're like, what do we tip? 20%? How do I do this math?
yeah, man, especially a 20% tip is one of the easier tips to math out.
Yeah.
Also, if you're tipping less than 20% when you're going out right now, you're a terrible person.
Oh my God. I don't even have money to be throwing away. And anybody that's working right now, I'm like, you get a tip. You get a tip. Are you a bodega cat? You get a tip. Like, everybody gets a tip. Thank you so much for being out here.
Yeah. So what is the customary tip for a bodega cat?
Oh, well, they get 2 neck scratches. If they're open for a tummy scratch, they get it. But if they're not, you need to respect boundaries. And then I do a full photo shoot. So, and then I post that and I try to make sure I find out their name, if possible. Sometimes the bodega people are like, get out of my store. And that's reasonable as well. But yeah, that's pretty customary. I see them, I start taking multiple pictures, and then I like literally sit on the floor of a bodega and I have a little cuddle session with a cat that I don't know.
That is lovely. I've never encountered. I guess in the West Coast, bodega cats aren't as common, because nobody knows what. Also, nobody knows what the word bodega means in California. But
do you guys have like delis? Like, do you have these little corner stores like we do in New York, or is that just very New York?
No, we definitely have them here. Yeah, corner store where you can get like a handful of like goods plus a sandwich is very common out here.
Yeah, I don't know why that is, because all it is like free pest control. Maybe we have more pests, or maybe California has laws against it, because that's one of the things I learned from my book is that ships used to have cats. Like, that used to be, they'd be out for months at a time, and the cats would actually keep, the rats and mice away from eating their food and from contaminating their water. And then now, unless you have a personal ship, it's illegal. So New York probably has something that's like, you can't have animals around food unless it's a cat. Like, there's got to be some kind of rule in place. And I wonder if California is like, fuck your cat. Like, I wonder if they're just like, an animal is an animal, get them out of here. So it might be a state thing, weirdly enough.
I'd believe that, because we do have a lot of bookstore cats.
Oh yeah, that's been happening more and more. Fans have been telling me about like hardware stores. Like, I was in Atlanta and somebody was like, hey, you need to go to this hardware store. They have a bunch of cats. And I went to a hardware store, and I was like, they saw me walking around. They're like, can we help you? And I was like, I'm just looking for a nail. I don't know if you have it. Like, I don't even, but really I'm like going around looking for this cat. And then they had like a whole kind of plant nursery in the back. And that's where I found 2 cats. And then I was there for a half hour doing a photo shoot. But I felt like such like a bad person, because here is this like, individual hardware store, and I'm just like, no, I don't need that. Is this a hammer? No, I don't need that. Like, just pretending to shop so that I can hang out with cats.
So there used to be, or the store still exists. Actually, so there's a store called, I think it's Borderlands, in the Mission in San Francisco, which is an occult bookstore. I have no interest or inclination for the genre, but I would
Yeah.
pretend to browse occult
Yeah.
books because they had the friendliest hairless cat I've ever encountered. And like I would eventually just forego flipping through, pretending to look through books at all, and just hide in the corner with said cat for like half an hour because they were the best cat. And and yeah, it was yeah. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, no, I was in Paris right before things got really bad with the pandemic. I was doing a tour in Europe that got canceled in the middle of it, but I was in Paris, and the way I kind of do tourism when I'm traveling is I'll ask people, or people will tell me places I have to go. I'll figure a couple of them out and I'll get lost. I'll go look. I like street art. I like flea markets. I like kind of getting lost. But I was with my friend Maria, who was opening for me. I now have a podcast with her, Maria Shahada. But she wanted to go to this bookstore, like this very famous bookstore in Paris. And I, I love books. I love reading. I do like bookstores, but for whatever reason, I guess because we were only there for like 2 days, it wasn't what I really wanted to be doing that day. But this is friendship. You make compromises. So we go to this bookstore and I see a cat and I was like, I love this place. So she's off buying books and touching stuff. And it was actually this guy was sitting down and the cat was in the lap, and I literally look and I go, can I take a picture of you and this cat? And he's like, sure. And then I had a full photo shoot with this dude and this cat. And then I got his Instagram and I sent him pictures. But I was like almost like a mom with her kid going to first grade and just taking too many pictures. And of course, like Marie's coming in and out and she's like, are you cool? Can I stay for another 10 minutes? I was like, I made 2 friends. One's human, one's a cat. I am fine.
Oh, that's lovely. Okay, so I begin and end all of these with the same question. So, if you could go back and talk to 13-year-old you about who you've become, what you've accomplished, what would you have to say to her?
I mean, relax. Like I was so uptight, and I felt like everything I was doing had, like, if I knew it was going to take me this long to be both comfortable with myself as a human and then also comfortable with myself as a creator, I would have chilled emotionally and comedically a bit. You know what I mean? But in my mind, I was like, I got to do it now, and I got to, and if I don't do this, I won't be famous, and this won't happen, and these people won't like me. And I never became famous, and people still don't like me. So what was I rushing for? Like I would probably look at my 13-year-old self and be like, if the goal is to be funny and be a part of this community and to be a good person, you're going to get there. So why don't you enjoy the journey? And it's taken me, I would say, the first 10 years, I really couldn't enjoy any of the things that I accomplished or the accolades or accomplishments. And now I can just enjoy them. And it's sad that I was so unhappy and neurotic and just crazy when I, both being my younger self and being a younger performer. But I am grateful that I got to a place that I am proud of myself and I can enjoy each accomplishment, each day, each set. So I think to 13-year-old me, it'd just be like, you'll get there. Believe that you'll get there. Just try to just enjoy it. Like, none of this really matters.
That's pretty lovely. And yeah, I feel like I need to hear that myself. So I may just take that clip and just repeat it
Yeah.
to myself
I
throughout.
sit you down.
Yeah.
I'm like, honey buns, it's going to be okay. Enjoy the journey. I hand you a lunch.
Yeah. Combine that with like the stop filtering thing. And I think I have my mantras for dealing with the 5th quarter of pandemic.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know you need to get going. So Why Cats Are Assholes is something that people can buy now and read if they choose to read a book. I do need I do need to point out the page numbers I was reading the book in bed, and my wife just looked over and didn't know what I was reading, just saw your page numbering, and I can't remember exactly what she said, but it's something along the lines of "That's absolutely disgusting." So,
No,
no, in a good way.
that was my favorite part of the book is my page numbers.
Yeah, it's great. You got a real emotional reaction from her with it.
Well, thank you for having me. Yeah, you can buy the book wherever. It's everywhere. And then I have a weekly podcast with my friend Maria, who I mentioned, called Two Non-Doctors. And then I have 2 out of 3 hours free on YouTube, so people can get lost. And I have a lot of cat jokes
Yeah,
on all my albums and specials. So
and
enjoy.
and where can people view your Bodega Cat photo shoots?
Oh yeah, so I do Catter Day every Saturday. And that is on my Instagram. I kind of post it everywhere, but it's my Instagram. And I tell most people don't follow me on Instagram. It's all cat pictures. But if you're enjoying this, that's where you can see. I'm very proud of my cat pictures. So
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming out and or staying in your own home for this.
thanks for
Yeah,
having me.
excellent. Cool. All right. So I've got a busy week ahead of me, so it might be about 2 or 3 weeks before I have this edited and posted live. But I'll send it to Sheila, and she'll give you whatever links and whatnot.
Yeah, just tag me and everything, and I'll share it.
Okay, definitely. Yeah, this was super fun. Yeah, I usually do music people, but really it was the title of the book that was like I kept the press release, like I read it, then kept it unread for like 3 weeks, and I was realizing I should do something with this. I should like there's a reason that I've kept this open and like yeah. So again, then this ended up being super fun. So thank you again.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. It means a lot.
Yeah, you're welcome. Right, and good luck with your next thing in 5 minutes.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.
Enjoyed that. I think it was good. I hope you also thought it was good. Uh, I also have a Spotify playlist that should be visible in the info area of this podcast, wherever you are listening to this, via whatever app you're listening to it on. Uh, yeah, she talked about a lot of comics, and I thought it would be fun to put together a playlist of bits. And Liz was very quick to get me a list of bits and even the order she wanted them in uh, f- to accompany this. She talked about being a stand up nerd a lot, and yeah, she is a stand up comedy nerd. Stand up comedy nerddom is a fun nerddom. Uh, Not that I needed to tell you that. Yeah, see you possibly as soon as next week. We'll see how things keep going once again. Bye.